All right, hello once again. This is Jeff Scott of Rankin Technical College, and I've been going over the Bootstrap 4 examples from the Quackit.com Bootstrap 4 tutorial. And I'm about halfway through. There are 29 categories. I've gone through 14, so let's finish this up. Let's go to the basic breadcrumbs example. And you see again, our UL has a class of breadcrumb, and our list items, all right, they each have a class of breadcrumb item. And that probably is going to look more like this. I don't know why they say home fruit and pears. Actually, I guess they do. Because we have what? As an example, how about animals? And then you might have something like dogs, I guess. I guess that would be possible. Okay. All right, pagination. Let's look at the default pagination first. And you saw this earlier. There we go. You can be there and click here and you go back to 1. You can be here and you click there and you go all the way to 7. So, okay, this is the beginning. That's the end type of thing. And again, the key to using that is the UL has got a class of pagination. Each one of the LIs has got a class of page item. And you'll notice in here we've got the ARIA label. Remember, ARIA all has to do with people who have any kind of impairment. Okay, you want to make sure that your website, anyone and everyone is able to use it. All right. Tags, default tag example here. I think I know what this one is, but let's try it anyway. Okay. Not sure exactly what that one was trying to show. Do remember that when we start using this stuff, now we have to have the tether library in. You have to have the tether library in when you want to come in and start being able to position things, top, bottom, left, right. Here's some tags with contextual classes. Remember those contextual classes? Well, not sure what's going on there. Let's go back to here. See if it's showing in here. It's not. Huh. Well, let's look at the example that's in their text. And I guess it's not meant to show that. Okay. All right. So it's kind of a silly example, I guess. Jumbotron, let's look at both. The default Jumbotron. And you notice with the default, we have our class equal container, not a container fluid, and our class equal Jumbotron. You see we get the margins there, and as we come in and we start to knock this down, it keeps the margin as long as it can. Okay, basically it keeps it the whole way, and according to this example, this is less narrow than a phone would be anyway. A phone would be something like this. Okay. But Again, the key is class equal Jumbotron. Okay? Quite often, and we talked about this before, you'll also have in here class equal lead. And you'll see then how this changes. You get a bigger paragraph. Okay? And a full width Jumbotron. Again, the main difference is exactly what you think it would be. And that is in this first example when we did this, we had the class equal container. And in the second example, we've got the class container inside of a Jumbotron fluid class. And you notice it's not doing it where I thought it would. Save. Now it's taking up everything, regardless of the size that we make this. Okay. So that's breadcrumbs, pagination, tags, and Jumbotron. Let's look at alerts. Here's a default alert. And again, in here, what do we have? Alert success, alert info, alert warning, and alert danger. We're putting the roles in every time also. And you remember the thing about an alert. Okay, right now we don't have the dismissible on there, but it's all color coded based on the alert success. The alert success, which is green, the alert info, which is blue, the alert warning, which is a tan, and the alert danger, which is a reddish. The dismissible alert, let's do it with the fade in effect. So again, here we've got alert dismissible, which means that it's going to have the X there, so we can close it. And we've got the fade show on here. All right, again, much easier to demonstrate. You notice it goes in and out of view with a fade and a show. Okay. When things are modal, let's look at the basic modal example. And again, we'll look at the modal with the effect fade effect. So here's a basic modal. Click me. Okay, we looked at this before. Title, text, dismissible, and a button we've added. You can either close it through the close button or you can close it by clicking the X. You don't have to have a close button in here. Okay. And let's contrast that with the modal with the fade effect. All right, so you'll notice now let's run it and look at it. So when you click the X, okay, there was no fade effect in there. All right, and what that meant was rather than it naturally fading away, it was just gone. All right, let's go to progress bars, and we'll pretty much call this one a wash then. Here's the default progress bar. Again, you saw because I put in most of these earlier. There's our default, which is at like 75%. We can use the contextual classes. Remember, when you think contextual, you can start thinking about the different colors. Okay. We also saw when we looked at these that it was possible to do some customization and put in striping and animation. Let's quickly look at both of those. So here's the striping, but you notice it's not moving, so it's not animated right now. But if we add the animated class to it, it's going to get that look. And again, what we've added here was progress bar animated. Always a good idea when you're looking through this stuff, especially if you've kind of got a goal of having some kind of special effect, to look through the documentation to see what exists for you currently. All right, I think that's about it for this one. When we come back, we'll finish it up and we will look at media objects, list groups, Bootstrap cards, responsive embed, Bootstrap carousels, tooltips, popovers, and finally scroll spy. All right, so I'll come back starting with media objects in just a couple.